I did it for no other reason than I believe that.
That can't be possible.
Bull.
Can't be possible.
Bull.
You ran 2 years later for president. That can't be possible. You're a smart guy.
I ran against
That's
him.
the point.
Joe Walsh used to be a full-on Tea Party guy, loud voice on conservative radio, and a proud Trump voter in 2016. But what's wild is how fast and hard he flipped once he actually watched Trump in action. Let's check out what he says in this interview. It's a side of him a lot of people don't expect.
Now that you know who he is, Joe, great to have you on the podcast.
It's an honor to be here with both you guys. Seriously.
Yeah, it's great to have you on, man.
And Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Now we know Tom knows one-liners from movies,
and other places.
Specifically,
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men. So, you know, for the audience that doesn't know, maybe, you know, give a little bit about your background on, you know, what you did, you ran, why you supported Trump, why you turned against him, and then why you supported Biden and where you are today.
So it's a weird... Do I need to watch my language?
Not at all.
Joe, you've never watched your language. Why start today?
Thank
60
you.
years old. Why start now?
Stupid question. It's a weird fucking journey that nobody else has been on. I got elected to Congress. I was the big Tea Party guy. I went there and I raised hell. I'm still a Tea Party guy. I left Congress. I got booted out of Congress. I voted for Trump in 2016 because I knew why people in this country were pissed off, because both parties suck. Our politics is broken. Government's too fucking big. So I understood why Trump got elected, right? And I voted for him because of that. His people were my people. He gets elected. I start to pay attention to him, and I realize he's an utterly corrupt, criminal, horrible human being. At the time, I'm on the radio when Trump gets elected, 200 stations all over the country. I'm on Fox News every day, and I begin to speak against Trump. And when you do that as a Republican back then, you're done. So within a couple of years, I was done because I just said I couldn't support this. And then I dedicated myself to doing everything I can to defeat him. And I voted for a Democrat for the first time in my fucking life in 2020. Not because I like Biden. He's too old. I don't agree with his policies. But to me, Trump's a danger. So I'm a politically homeless, still conservative who just can't stand where my former political party is right now.
Do you regret voting for Biden?
No. Gosh, no. Not at all. Yeah.
You don't regret voting for Biden?
Well, yeah, it was an easy vote because, and you may disagree with me, Patrick, but I consider Trump to be an existential threat. So if you're like me and you think that, you got to vote for the only person who can beat him, even if you don't like him.
So let me ask you, what was the tipping point for you? What did Trump do for you to say, I don't like this guy, boom, I'm flipping?
I screwed up in 2016 because I didn't pay attention to him.
What do you mean you didn't pay attention?
I did.
How could you not pay attention to the guy? He sucked all the oxygen out of the room. You were paying attention.
No.
Maybe you chose not to pay attention?
I chose not to.
Okay.
I didn't like him as a man, but I really didn't know that much about him. I never watched The Apprentice. But again, remember, I'm a big conservative voice. I'm on the radio all over the country. I can see he's going to win the Republican nomination. All my listeners are supporting him. I'm with my listeners in what we need. But I really didn't take him seriously. And by the way, that was a shitty job of mine. I should have. Once he got elected and I started to pay attention to him, and I realized that he lies every fucking time he opens his mouth. And it to me, it didn't seem like he had the interest of the country he didn't care about the country. He only cared about him. The final straw was Helsinki, the summer of 2018, when Donald Trump stood in front of the fucking world and said, I'm with Putin. My own people can go jump. I went on the radio that night and I said, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he's not reelected. And the minute that happened, I began to lose my radio show.
So you said you weren't paying
Helsinki was the final straw.
You said you weren't paying attention to him, but rolling up to the election, certainly you knew after he got because right before the election, the turning point for me realizing how serious it wasn't that he won the nomination.
Yeah.
What was the contrast, and it wasn't Fox, it was all networks, the contrast between the crowds that Hillary was pulling and the crowds that Trump was pulling. It was crazy. And at that point, my switch flipped in terms of my, not supporting or not supporting, but my switch flipped on my Vegas odds making side of my brain, they're like, wow, this guy could do it. I don't think he will. I think there's too much of a machine with Hillary, but he could do it because I was looking at voter enthusiasm. What was your turning point coming up to the election where you say, this might happen? When you say you weren't paying attention to him.
And again, it's all relative. Like, I didn't pay a lot of attention to specifically him. Obviously, I'm a major political figure at the time, so I'm paying attention to the fucking race. I knew at the first Republican debate that Trump was going to win the nomination. When Donald Trump stood up and did his thing, and you had, look, guys, I don't come from the Republican establishment. I'm a Tea Party hellraiser. And you had Jeb up on that stage.
Looking like yesterday's lunch. Yeah. No inspiration whatsoever.
Yeah, Jeb and Marco and all these guys up on stage sounding like just fucking politicians. And Trump gets up there and says, I'm going to build a fucking wall. I'm keeping these people out, blah, blah, blah. And he's throwing insults at people. And all the Republican establishment people were telling me, that's horrible. We cannot nominate this guy. But everybody who called into my radio show said, Joe, it's about fucking time. I knew then Trump was going to win the nomination. I think I knew a couple months before the general election that he was going to beat Hillary because Hillary sucked. Hillary was the poster child. Look, we live in a populist moment, guys. Americans are rightly pissed off at our politics. Hillary was the poster child for establishment politics.
See, this is one of the rare moments where someone who used to be part of the machine admits they got it wrong. Not just wrong, but dangerously wrong. You can even see how Patrick Bet David looks uncomfortable hearing it. Like, he wants to believe Walsh is bitter or has an angle. But sometimes people just change their minds when the truth hits them in the face.
A minute. He was going to win 2 minutes before. I felt like 2 months before. I felt like he could.
Yeah, that's interesting. So 2018, when did they start talking about the Russia hoax? When did that start? That started right off the bat. No, 2016. Immediately. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So
that was a disappointment too.
Yeah. So did that at all? Were you ever, like, if somebody were to go audit to see all your recording on the radio, would there ever find a time that you believe the Russia hoax was taking place? Did you ever buy into that?
No.
Like, let's just say we do an audit right now, and it comes back and it says, here's what Joe Walsh said about Russiagate. He believed it. He said, yeah, he collusion. We should put him in jail. We should impeach them. Would any of those snippets be found of you saying that?
No. Well, I actually don't know where the question's coming from because I believe, and I think it's fact, that Russia fucked with our election in 2016 to help get Trump elected. I think that's obvious. And after Trump won in 2016, and then it became public, like Russia did this, Trump's first instinct was to get pissed off about it. Trump just got fucking elected. And our intelligence people come out with, I mean, everybody around Trump knows that Russia fucked with that election to help get Trump elected. The only one who couldn't admit that is Trump.
Stop saying that. Stop.
It's true.
Stop. You can't say that. So okay.
Well, I just did.
But I know you can say that, but it doesn't mean it makes it true. You can say that and make a statement like that.
Just to interject, there's two separate things you're talking about. Yeah. Did Russia meddle in the election with bots and Twitter? That is separate. Did Trump collude with Russia? Because those are two separate things. Did Russia have bots and Twitter and all? Yes. Did Trump collude? That's a separate question. And that's essentially what Pat's saying. He's saying that's what was marketed, but that wasn't true.
But is Pat acknowledging that Russia fucked in the election?
I will acknowledge that U.S. has participated in every election they can in the world. And I would acknowledge that China, Russia, and any major empire in America, in the world, has been involved in other elections. I would say everybody does that. So what that means doesn't give your statement a lot of credibility. What I will say is the following. Was there ever a time where you tried to get closer with Trump to get a job on his administration, or you wanted to meet with him, or you wanted to have any kind of a, hey, why don't you come on my radio show? And he turned you down multiple times, or he didn't offer a job where you got offended. Were you ever offended?
There was a time. Yeah. Because remember, Pat, I'm a conservative. I'm not a Republican establishment type.
You're Tea Party, Michelle Bachmann. Like you're Tea Party.
Bachmann, me. Yeah. I mean,
Justin Amash.
Alan West, Justin Amash. Yep. We were the guys. Yes.
But the problem is, you guys are like fossils at this point because you're like.
But I want to hear his answer. I want to hear his answer.
So look.
When I said, let me remind you again. I asked, were you ever offended because he didn't give you any job on his administration or didn't want to get on your show? Was there anything behind closed doors that he didn't keep his promise to you that offended you to say, if you don't do this, I'm going to turn against you, and you did?
This part is wild because Patrick cannot wrap his head around someone just losing faith in Trump without some personal vendetta. Like, it has to be because Joe didn't get a job or something. It really shows how deep the cult mentality can go. If you're not with Trump, you must be bitter or fake. No way you just have convictions, right?
Two things.
Yeah.
You're clearly thinking of something, so I can't wait to hear it. And just again, I apologize because I've said a gazillion fucking things, and I've probably forgotten half of what I said. I remember wanting him to succeed. I remember having friends in the administration, and when he first got elected, and Sean Spicer was just a piece of shit, and he sends Spicer out there to lie every fucking day. I remember talking to a few people saying, my God, Trump needs an honest, good, tough spokesperson. So I'll become Trump's spokesperson. I forgot who I said that to, but early on in the administration, I said it would be great to be that for Trump. That's the only one I think I can remember. But yeah, initially, because I knew why Trump got elected. His people were my people. I wanted him to succeed.
Yeah, but so then that reveals something. So because...
But that doesn't impact at all.
Give me a break, Joe. So,
fuck no! Don't give me a break.
Yeah.
I've been through fucking hell.
I say what I believe. By choice, though.
Exactly.
You chose to do this. It's not like nobody forced you. This is America. Nobody can force you to.
No, I chose to do what I did.
And your choice was, hey, I think, because what I think of you, I think of Mooch. And Mooch is a friend. I like Mooch. Mooch and I have spent time, and we've had him on, but similar situation. Maybe Mooch did get the job and you didn't get the job, but you got the job. And then, 11 days later and 7 days later, and that's Trump's challenge.
You're talking about Scaramucci.
Yeah, of course. He knows what I'm talking about. So, all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're fired. I mean, that's a public humiliation when you do that. Trump could have handled that in a very different way. To fire a guy that quickly after you hired him, there is responsibility in the person who hired. So, if you fire somebody that quickly, you didn't do enough due diligence to hire the person initially. So there's responsibility on both sides. But, there are a lot of people on both ends of the aisle, on the left and the right. A lot of times when somebody flips on Biden or you flip on Obama or you flip on Bush or Trump or whoever, behind closed doors, there was conversation to say, hey, if you back me up, I'm going to figure out a way to get you a job. Wink, wink. And then they don't. No. And then you're like flipping out saying, I can't believe you didn't do this. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. So those are the types of stories that the public never knows about. We don't know about. I'm not telling you there's credibility behind my...
No, there's not.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, by the way, just so you know, Pat, everybody in my position who came out and said, I'm against Trump, they did it for their own reasons. Maybe some people did it for money, for a gig, for a job. I don't know why Mooch did what he did. I'm telling you that when I came out 5 years ago and said I can't support this, I did it for no other reason than I believe that.
That can't be possible.
Bullshit.
Can't be possible.
Bullshit.
You ran 2 years later for president. That can't be possible. You're a smart guy.
I ran against
That's
him,
the point. So that's the point. So you have to come out 5 years ago to go and say, I can't stand this because you're thinking the Republican Party is divided and you're thinking you're going to get the side that's against Trump.
No, that's wrong.
Which part is wrong?
I never said, and I don't believe the Republican Party is divided. It's never been divided. It's Trump's party.
Wait a minute.
I've acknowledged that publicly. By the way, can I hear myself a little bit more?
Yeah.
Because I'm an old man. And
Lincoln
I'm deaf.
Project. So go to Lincoln Project.
Talk to the Lincoln Project people.
Yeah, but
they're not me.
I'm not saying you're Lincoln Project.
Of course not.
But the Lincoln Project people are against Trump, and that was a community that some people banked on. They said, okay, if I think
it wasn't my community.
Well,
the Lincoln
it's more
your community?
I've got nothing to do with it.
It's more your community than MAGA.
No, they don't. No, well, hold on. Yeah. I don't have anything. Guys, this is a big, diverse world. A lot of people support Trump for a lot of reasons. A lot of people oppose him for a lot of reasons. I don't do anything with the Lincoln Project. And by the way, some of those guys have enriched themselves. Look at my tax returns. I have not. Pat, let me just get this out of the fucking way now, because I've been through fucking hell for 5 years.
by choice.
And no fucking regrets.
Yeah.
And I would do it again. And look, my friend, you can disagree with what I did and everything I've said, but no regrets. I did what I believed. Okay. But when I did that, I knew I was going to lose everything.
Say what you want about Joe Walsh, and believe me, there's stuff to disagree with. But this took guts. He lost his platform, his following, and still stood firm. Meanwhile, Patrick looks like he's waiting for some gotcha that never comes. It's because in his world, you can't be conservative and anti-Trump. But Joe shows us you actually can, if you're willing to take the hits.